All right, ready to start? So this is castle game number 2 of Shusaku, and he's playing against a player named Sakaguchi Sentoku. And apparently this guy was the head of the Sakaguchi house, and it was a more of a minor go house, but it was closely associated with the Yasui house, like Yasui Sanshi that we've seen. Um, and this game was not one of the official castle games. I guess during that time, Go was really popular among the government officials. And so they would have the official castle games, and then there were games called Okonomi games, and this is one of those such games. And that's where, the official games were over, but the shogun essentially requested for another game. And that's what this game is. So we're actually not sure if it was the shogun or if it was some other high-ranking official. It depended. Um, but yeah, this is an Okonomi game. And I'm gonna try and have a little bit of fun with this one because I don't know, something about the commentary on this game. There's just some really funny comments. Maybe it's just my particular sense of humor, but I found a lot of this stuff pretty funny in this game. So normally I just do the review, but I'm actually gonna read the parts that I find particularly funny from the book, just because you guys might find it funny as well. Um, the commentator is from a pro I haven't seen yet, Sanno Hirotaka Ninedan. And I don't know if the funny stuff is like what he wrote in Japanese and then it got translated or what. But let's just take a look at the game. Get Komoku, Komoku, nothing special. We get the approach. And we get the final corner, right? We've said it time and again, but black doesn't have to respond to A because that's a one-on-one situation. Neither is weaker than the other, so we can just take the empty corner. No cheating, Merrick. Typically, white plays A next. That's the most common. But in this case, he chose to play here, which is also completely reasonable. Um, so what are the two basic ideas for the next move? Obviously, there's more than two choices actually, but if we're talking about basics, what would the two choices be? Good. Ruckus he's a crazy player, but I think he listens. Cool. Yeah, so either enclosing the bottom right corner or approaching the top left corner. Which one do you think is more valuable in this case? Hey, Excalibur, no problem. Top right. That wasn't even a choice. Do you mean top left, Merrick? Okay, yeah. Actually, in this case, it's probably better to enclose the lower right. This is the other possibility, and you can do that. But the thing that's nice about this one is it prepares a nice next move, right? The other thing, actually, let me make sure I don't break the tree first. White just continues here with starting a Taisha. The other thing is that at any time, white can press this down, right? So that's part of the reason um, black chooses a higher position here to try and not be low and low. Um, but it kind of depends because there's a problem here too. Does anyone know how to destroy the right hand side? Like what's the easiest way for white to settle on the right hand side and to kind of frustrate the A stone a little bit. Q2. That's like a forcing move. You can do that, but something different. Actually, you can start with R12. This is the furthest we can go that's a pincer on this guy, right? And black has to come on out, and then you can just settle here. This may look like really, really basic, and it is, but the idea is that black isn't that happy about making only a one space, right? Normally, you would want to play two. So um, I've actually played like this against Mr. Yang, and he's kind of pointed out that he doesn't like it so much because of this, but of course it's possible to do. Okay, so white continues over here. Where for black? Maybe I'll just let someone give me the moves for a little bit. I think we've got a lot of people that know this by now. Couldn't black resist by attacking the bottom? Where do you mean, Merrick? Are you talking about like here? Yeah, I didn't necessarily mean to like play this immediately. Yeah, black could just do something else, but it's something that could happen later, right? And white will wait until the time is right. Yeah, so e4, we have to get out and split white. White's gonna try and make it hard on us to actually come out as one group. Then the A stone is the inside stone, more valuable, more important stone. So typically we want to defend that one first, although we can go the other way. It's game number 25 from Invincible, and it's the second castle game. F4. Oh, okay. All right, so now we're all nice and separated. White's got to help inside weaker stones first, and a 3-3 is a good way to do that. And then black has to help his. Okay, so now we're at like the basic position where typically the variations start happening, right? And here we get to see one we haven't seen yet. White actually extends here, and it makes for something different than we've seen. Anyone want to show the basic Taisha? Anyone think they can do that? I'll give you control if you want to. We've seen it so many times. Yeah, the really basic one. I've even shown it a bunch of times. That's why I'm gonna give someone else a chance. And I've specifically said this is the this is the basic one. I'm sure someone knows. No, no one wants to do it. Okay, I'll show again. So the basic one, or this is what's considered the basic one, is connect. Black has to get out. White comes out. I should have waited. I should have waited for you to look it up first and verify that what you were thinking was correct. Oh, you're making corn dogs. White helps these guys. Black plays here, and white comes out. This is like the basic one, but white played this one, so we get to see what happens here. C8. C8 is kind of dangerous, right? Because we could just be push and cut immediately. Oh man, I think you did this in another one a while ago. You did like the same thing. You're awesome, Jay. What does this move depend on? Does anyone know? Anyone that was paying attention during the ear reddening game, this is like very similar. Yeah, the ladder. Okay, and black has the ladder in this case. Does anyone want to show the ladder? Does anyone know how to make the ladder? Please, Ruckus? Okay, I'll let Ruckus do it. Now I'm trusting you, Ruckus, that you're not going to go onto the main branch and just maliciously destroy my tree, okay? Just work within Oh, you don't know? Okay, you don't know. Okay, I'm taking control back then. Yeah, it starts with C8. And now where does black want to play? Natural to want to go ahead, right? C9. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. We go ahead. But then here's the problem, right? Two liberties. So this is where the ladder comes into play. Atari, Atari, and Atari. So actually, this one's a little different because there's a capture here too, right? But essentially, this is. Oh wait, what am I doing? Sorry. This is just a ladder, right? So white can't play like that. So he plays here. This is the first thing that I found was funny. The comment was, White 20, a new move, but not, unfortunately for Sentoku, one destined to become Joseki. Too bad. So apparently this move isn't so hot, and we'll try to see why. Can't White G3? Interesting. Okay, let me click Black's move first. I understand what you want to do, yeah. But what if, but how are you going to answer this then, right? Like, this is the natural response you want to be able to play, but now you can't, right? So it's still too weak because of this. So, but yeah, good idea. But White's got to keep it low. This actually ends up being a problem though because Black jumps out, and then when White plays here, um, Black gets the Hane at the head of 2, right? So the shape's not very good for White. Sure, this is an Atari for White, a free Atari, but that doesn't change the fact that the 2 stones, it's a Hane of the head of 2. So actually, Joseki now is to play here. And the meaning behind it is once we get to here, we can see that if B were at A, that would have been Atari, right? So that would be better. Where am I? So this is the move. Now, in this case, Black will change, though. He's going to go this way. And he's going to... We want to continue helping these stones because they're the weakest. And we also want to put pressure on these stones. Now, I want to see who can get the next move right as White. There's probably more than one, but there's kind of one that's like Honte. E8. Close. 013. Merrick, what? Oh, your thing is still flipped around. Why don't you? What are you doing, Merrick? Actually, just here, get more liberties, right? This is a place. This is the best way to get more liberties, right? Because these stones are heavy. And also remember, there's nastiness over here that we were looking at earlier, and this move aims at it clearly. So Black actually has to come out now, right? Doesn't D9 do the same? D9. Not necessarily because like now I think A is going to be Sente or B is going to be Sente and then Black might be able to take control. So this is like the solid way. Black has to come out. Now White would, there's a like an asking move here. How do we answer this guy? To be careful. You don't want the game to end too quickly. Oh, by the way, another thing that's funny. So, in this book, there's there's figures, which is like the actual Kifu, and then there's diagrams, which is like um, the variations and stuff. And the figures are numbered like figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and they also have like a little comment on them. And figure 1 is moves 1 to 39, and I found it was funny because it's titled the losing move. I want to D9, but it's too aggressive. But where do we play here as black? There's only one move. Yeah, you have to play B6. Good. So later on, white can exchange A for B. If we do this, there's no more ladder stuff, right? That's why white made these solid. So it goes like this. Then white will continue over here. Black is going to play at the center of 3 stones, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Can actually... Wait, yeah, that's fine. White's got to get out. Honey. So something like this. This is like the what became Joseki, I guess. I think you can also play here first. No, never mind. No, that was just a diagram. Okay, so anyway, that's what became Joseki, but this is what Sakaguchi played here. Can you play F7? When? Oh man, I'm just gonna say right away that I don't know all the Taisha variations, so. When do you want me to play F7? F7 instead of D8. Maybe. I have no idea. Probably black will still play like this. Oh, is it? Okay. Then yeah, you answered your own question. I'm not sure. I would have to look it up. There's so many. Essentially, what I do is just learn the ones that come up in, the pro commentary here, and I kind of add them. I slowly, add to my understanding of the variations as I go. But there's a lot of them. Where's the shape point for white now? This is pretty easy. Right, gotta play F7. Okay, where for black now? Let's see who's paying attention to what's going on. Oh, Jay, come on. Oh, Ruckus, come on. What did B8 depend on? Our ladder's gone, right? You have to be really, really careful. Yeah, that's right. C9 is proper. We have to defend this now. If you do something else, let me just click a move. Whoops. This is just going to work now, right? There's nothing to fight against because these stones are stronger now. So, wait a second. That's not even true. That works, doesn't it? That's interesting. It has become weaker though, so this move still. I thought that was the reason, but there's this, right? Perhaps we don't just want to be pressed down even like that. So we come up, and white jumps. Yeah, it keeps the pressure, keeps our group up on the 3rd line and strong. White also could have played like this. The pro actually said this is the normal way to get shape. Notice that there's kind of a nasty peep left over for black at A. In this case, he, skipped the A-B exchange and just went straight to here. Black's got to jump away. And now white tries to jump ahead. And this is what gets called the losing move in this game. Yeah, it's a little thin because these stones here are actually strong. And so this one wasn't funny, but I thought it was really interesting. So let me read what it said. It says white 28 invites a forceful attack by black. It's an overextension which becomes the losing move. And then it goes on to say, this is the part I think is interesting. Black 29 gives one a glimpse of the power concealed beneath the smooth surface of Shusaku's Go. His Fuseki was so superior to that of players like Sentoku that he was able to win virtually without fighting. But when the opponent created a weakness in his position, he could be ruthless. So this is Shusaku being ruthless. Normally he doesn't have to, but he was given a chance here, I guess. Okay, so let's essentially white needs to jump nice and solid. Black will jump, and then white can split this side up somehow. And this would be, more of a normal paced game. But instead, this happened. And we get this. And notice, since these guys are so strong, it's really hard for white to actually capture the A-stone. So he has to connect, and he's cut, right? So it's dangerous. Black gets a forcing move. And here he plays really solid. We'll look at why in a second. This is important that he's playing solid. First, let's go back here really quick and see what if white tries to play Atari first. First thing is black could just play like this and like this, and this would be enough, right? Compensation. Go after those stones. Baring his fangs. Nice quote. Yeah, he had no choice. He could also play here if he wants. All right, well, Atari and connect. So here we kind of have to compare some diagrams, so we'll see in a second here. Okay, so here he played solid. I think that's because there's a lot of Aji here. You might be tempted to jump, but it seems like, Atari is Sente. And if we do something like this, now we've got a problem, right? We've got A and B problem. If we fix that, we can come through like this. So that's not so good. So that's why he plays nice and solid here. He sees all that Aji. Even if that didn't exist, perhaps the peeps, leaving all these peeps would be annoying too. Okay, so now let's go back to here. Assuming white did, this variation. The pro is trying to point out that black actually, there's two ways of answering this. He could do A or he could do B. Assuming he does B and it ends up like this, it's a little unhappy in some sense because if we capture here, there's this annoying peep, right, for later that white can use to destroy the bottom. And if we play here, which makes us solid on the bottom, it's not as good as the game where we're able to get out to A, right? You see the difference? In the game, we make it all the way out to L4, and here we don't. So white might have moves like B. So in any case, the game ends up like this. White makes one quick forcing exchange. He wants to make sure black is going to answer this right now, because later on in the game, depending on what happens, black may ignore. Later on in the game, for example, if white peeps, black may push, and then Tanuki. And, if white plays Atari, he might just connect here and let white capture the A stone. Of course, that would be once the B and C groups were no longer weak. So we're talking about much, much later, right? The situation could change. And if white pushes, black would be able to play here. So white is just making sure black answers that because right now he has to. All right, okay. And now, okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. We've got A as a potential weak group. We've got B and C, which are weak. D is not home yet, but it's pretty strong, and E is pretty strong on top of the water. Okay, so white's got to help the sea stones first. He does that by jumping out. M9. Good. I'm glad you said M9 because this is a move that white's aiming at, but it's not really backed up yet, right? So one of the things this move prepares is M9 because then there's no cut, right? This stone at 06 will help us ladder. It also prepares B. So there's two moves here that we're aiming at for white. And if we just did like a one space extension, that wouldn't put as much pressure on black, right? So here we are, right, M9 directly is kind of like running with a knight's move that isn't backed up yet. Okay, so white jumps, and we have to help our A group. Now, do we play A or B, and how do we decide? A, 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 A. Okay, so you guys are talking about follow-ups. I hadn't thought about that. What's the follow-up? Maybe you guys found a different reason than I did. A is correct. 03. Follow-up. Are you talking about like maybe attach here later? Is that the follow-up you're talking about? I see. Okay, you're looking at that. Yeah, that's worth looking at too. I think the more important thing is that this is a heavy group, right? And the corner is not weak, so you should play closer to the weaker. That's the really simple way to look at it, is that assuming we somehow get separated between B and C, with this jump we helped the weaker group, right? That's more important, so we should play closer to the weaker. So that's what he does. And now white gets this, which was the move we were just talking about, right? That we prepared. Black, of course, is going to jump out. That's nice and simple. And which white group needs the most help now? N4. Yeah, N4 keeps us nice and connected. G7. Yeah, the G7 group. So how are we going to come out? There's probably more than one choice, but J9. Wow, J9. You want to peep that? There's no reason to peep that just yet, J. F10. Oh, F10. Good, yeah, good instinct. G10 is also good. The main thing I wanted to see is if you guys were gonna use the wall to jump two spaces rather than just one space, because one space is too close. So we chose this one, perhaps because it's closer to the side. Maybe you can do something over here later. Here would be pretty good if maybe you want to put more pressure on these guys later. So it's definitely a choice. The peep would just make black stronger, right? Even if black just connects, it's not single stones anymore. Also, he might decide to do like this, and then you're peeping at both sides of a bamboo joint, which is generally not good because it's inefficient, right? You're like peeping on two sides and you still can't cut. Okay, so here, which group do we want to help for black now? I just wanted to came out after. Yeah, but that wall is already strong enough to jump way out ahead. I want to see if anyone really gets this move right. K8. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I asked which group to help first. Yeah, that's the group we're going to help. And what's the move? Nice. Ridge. R-I-J. I should just call you R-I-J since I'm R-J-M. The the three-letter guys starting with R. Yeah, I don't know if some of you guys will see this move and think it's slow, but this is like a really nice move. This is another thing I thought was interesting. Let me read what he said. This is kind of funny. It said, Black 45 makes the kind of shape professionals must dream about. It leads out Black's Soul Weak group while amply maintaining pressure on the two weak white groups. And it seems like Black is heading for a comfortable win. Yeah, so you might think about just jumping, but this kind of doesn't have a real direction. This one, Black's, again, he's trying to play closer to the weaker. It's not necessarily bad. At least you're helping the weak group and you're getting out. But with this one, he's putting more pressure on the weaker group. So he has more of an aim with what he's trying to do here. This is a pretty powerful move. Note, by the way, that we can't do something like this, right? It's way too thin because we already have one thin area. And then we have something like that, right? Emogo. Yeah, so just nice and solid, preparing. G9. What's G9? G9. G9 for what? G9. But why? I'm confused. Make quick shape. Oh, well, nothing's really going on in this area, right? So you can't, like, if I really pressed you to give me a reason for why the A stone was helping Black, I don't think you could give me a specific reason. That's one thing I sort of learned from Mr. Yang is that if you don't have a specific reason, you probably shouldn't do it. It's pretty, yeah, you need a specific reason before you make a peep like that. This shape is fine. White goes for the other thing he aimed at earlier. There was a funny comment about this one too because it said like this is a great follow-up move. It's just a shame it doesn't work. I don't I don't know why the comments on this one were just pretty funny. It just it's like normally it would work, but it's just kind of unlucky in this case. Yeah, in front of the Shogun. Um, so the natural fighting move here is Tahane, double Hane, and that's what he does. But the problem is that this move, Black actually likes to see this move, and he comes through like this. And so what the pro said is that normally when you play like this, the premise behind the whole thing is that you should be able to cut here, cast himself into the river. But in this case, Black can just Atari and connect, and White is like difficult here. And this was another comment. There's like a quote unquote squeeze here, right? But what the pro said is that squeezing, and he put squeezing in quotes, squeezing with 5 and 7 would just be a joke, right? And that's because there's still weaknesses everywhere. It's not a real squeeze. It's just, yeah. Oh no, not only did White collapse, so did the tree. Good game. Good game, guys. So this is gonna be, this is our real branch. The real branch is here. Sorry about that. So he actually couldn't cut here. He had to back off, and Black gets to connect, and then White had to make a tiger's mouth. Almost, yeah, but I think I have more successes than him so far on clean trees. I think I have like 7 or 8, believe it or not. Most of them from a long time ago. I've gotten worse as time goes on. Okay, let me make sure too. Let me make sure that I cover all the variations here and don't miss anything fun. Um, so the pro said that white should pretty much just swallow his pride here and back off, unfortunately. And Hane like this, and play like this. So he has to do this. And he said if black cuts, now would be the proper time to cut here and start a fight. He didn't show any variations after that, but he just said that's essentially what white has to do. Okay, so this is the real game. Oh, also we're on figure number 2 now. So the first one was the losing move, and figure number 2 is called from bad to worse. So get ready. This is this is just a fun game for some reason. Okay, so um, black plays Kosumi here, right? He wants to defend this stone, and later he might still be able to attack these guys. He might be able to put some pressure on this B stone. Okay, so now white plays a really, really bad move. He plays here, right? I'm sure we've all seen this move before in like Q games and stuff. And this is another thing that was really hilarious. Let me find what he said. Okay, yeah, this is like one of the best comments. White 56 is a strange move, neither attacking nor taking territory. And this is where it gets really good. One might call it the losing move if that honor had not already been claimed. Oh man, I don't know who's writing this stuff, but it's really good. Then he goes on to say, anything would be preferable to 56. A, B, C, take your choice. He doesn't include T19. The why is because just like he said, this move, it's not attacking and it's not taking territory. Yeah, this is 9-dan professional San no Hirotaka 9-dan. Yeah, so it's just too high, right? Generally, we don't want to play on the 5th line in the opening. It should be on the 4th line, right? Like this, or it should be on the 3rd line. Some sort of practical move. This move is, sorry, here. This move is very unlikely to become practical. Maybe he already knows that the game is difficult for him, so he's just trying to make, trying to do something unusual, but, like the figure said, it just goes from bad to worse, unfortunately. So Shusaku continues leaning on this group, right? There's clearly Aji here for black to cut through, which is why it was kind of bad to allow black to get B. White has to, calmly play here, and then black plays here. So he's, sort of linked these up for now. He's got a loose connection and a loose surround on this A group. And then white plays here. This is kind of another funny one. Let's see what happens. Black connects, white extends, and black connects. Right, so J sees it. And what the pro said is, white 60 is deceptive. It looks like the vital point, but in fact does little apart from helping black to link up. So that's not so hot. He suggested that white should just try to fix this thing that he made up here for now, and then later on he can think about attacking. And he suggested maybe this combination he could consider attacking later. But instead he played here first, yeah, and indeed it just helped black connect. And now here gets really interesting. I would play here too. It just looks natural. But the pro actually said, he says A is inconsistent with B and C, right? Because B and C we're trying to do the outside. And it might look like it's just obvious that black needs to connect at D now, but he doesn't. He plays here. Um, and Shusaku's go is extremely flexible, especially when he's winning. Um, and so let's take a look here. What white should have done instead, this is what the pro says, is to be consistent, white needs to continue from here. Black's going to want to keep the group separated. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to go back before white played that, don't I? So this is instead of A. He needs to play here. Black is going to want to keep this group separated. And then take a vital point here. Now white's going to have to live. And black's going to have to live up here. And so this is the diagram the pro showed. And he said, at least this way, white would have a chance of getting back into the game. It would be possible to get back into the game. But yeah, instead he played here, kind of assuming that black would just answer at A. And it's interesting because, like Zoggle pointed out, they are cutting stones, right? And so here's what the pro said. White was probably confident that black would answer the peep immediately, since the two stones below 71 look like pivotal stones, Tane Ishi. So he must have been taken aback when black switched to 65. Actually, this kind of flexibility is typical of Shusaku. When he's ahead, he'll jettison even supposedly keystones if they're a burden, right? So if he considered these guys a burden and didn't want to see this type of variation, he just jumped at the chance of keeping the game simple. Is it because B doesn't think he can kill F7? Yeah, that's a good point, right? If the A group was much weaker, then the cutting stones would have more value, right? So how much we value those cutting stones definitely depends on how weak we think the two groups are. That's a good point. So he just went for simplicity in this case. I thought it was really interesting. I've seen like maybe 2 or 3 times now in all of like the 25 plus games we've reviewed where he's given up keystones. He's won every single time actually that he's done that, by the way. But I guess most of these games he wins. Okay, so for now, white makes an extension on top. And black played here. And the pro called this a victory declaration move because it's pretty shallow, right? Like it just lets white fix up here. And he pointed out that if the game was more even, black would try a shoulder hit here and try to work against the thinness, right? White's got thinness all around. So he would try to do something like that. This is sort of a victory declaration move. Plays like that. And where next? Last open corner, right? Please resign already, yeah. So last open corner. White plays the Kosumi. The 9-Dan didn't think this was such a good idea because he thinks the A area is open anyway. So it doesn't necessarily make so much territory. And so he suggested something else, but let's go forward a little more first before we go back and see what he suggested. For now, black, he comes back and fixes these two stones. White has to capture a stone to ensure that he's alive. And notice he saved these two stones because now he's planning on going against this group again. So he plays a forcing move here. This is really interesting because notice how low the position looks right now. But just wait after a few moves here. Forcing move. Forcing move. This group still has to get out. And then he plays here. So he gets this big giant box shape, right, on the left-hand side. And This group still isn't out yet, so it's difficult. So let's see what the 9-Dan suggested. So the 9-Dan suggested instead of playing that diagonal, first white should play this shoulder hit. And he doesn't have to worry about this sort of thing, because if black does this, the top wasn't actually territory yet anyway. Notice that here we wouldn't jump ahead because that gives Sente to black. We push one extra. This is kind of like this one is less often played, but when you really need Sente, you can play one extra, and then white can come back to here and squeeze and play this, right? And this black group isn't gonna die, but this is still painful. This is too painful for black. The left just got destroyed. And these guys aren't really settled yet either, the A group. So probably he won't play like that. That means he probably has to answer the shoulder hit. And now notice how we've kept black low in advance. Also, we strengthened our A group. And then now we can play here. And this, the 9-Dan said that this would be much, much better than the game variation, right? Black can't grow so big. So yeah, let's get back to the real game. So it ended up like this. Black got a bunch of points. And this part's kind of interesting because we want to get this A group out, but we don't see a clear way to do it, right? Like if we jump to B, we're just leaving a elephant eye, right? So that's not so good. But if we jump to C, then we're playing further away from the weaker, right? And we're creating like a 2-space thin area. So white tries a little harder here. He says, you know, I can't play A because that's going to leave the elephant eye. So I am going to play B, but I need some backup first. I'm going to try and answer your guys' questions in a second. So he starts by asking here, and black says, okay, you're right, I have to connect up. And now he plays here. And see how we have this thin area, but he got a stone that's probably going to help with that first. So that's the meaning of playing A, B first. Now, a more straightforward sort of bad way of playing would be this, right? Or perhaps just playing this without backup and then finding yourself in trouble. Okay, so isn't there Aji at D10? There is, yeah. There is some Aji at D10. We'll see something there later, Zoggle. Okay, L10. Yeah, we'll also see L10 later as well, so I guess I'll wait on that one as well. Okay, so for now, white links up. And let's see. So black plays sort of a crude or sort of a vulgar sort of move here. And this is just because he's trying to wrap the game up, right? He makes an exchange and then strengthens himself here. Now the 9-Dan pointed out that the more professional way of doing this, if it was more of an even game, would be to jump here, aiming at the weakness. That would prompt white to defend, and that would naturally help us defend our own area, right? So that has a bit better flow to it. Jump and induce that. So that's the more normal way. And if white plays like this, black can attach here to try and fix some of the odd G around here you guys are talking about. J16. Yeah, there's still some holes on the top. I want to make sure I'm not missing any of the hilarious stuff this guy wrote. Okay, I don't think I am. All right, so we end up here. Where did he play next? Actually, there's something black may be aiming at here. So white plays this move to fix up some of his Aji, in Sente. I think what he's worrying about here, the pro doesn't show this, but I think he's worried about this type of thing, right? It's a little kind of out there, but there's potentially like a code thing here, right? Once black has gotten strong. So white's just fixing that shape up there. Um, and then he makes a forcing move here. And he plays here, which is an overplay. Why didn't black play R4 earlier? That's a good question. I'm actually not sure about that. I was wondering about it too. Let's see, like where would he have had a free moment? Like right now? Let's try to analyze this. So a lot of times we would want to extend first, right? To get additional forcing moves. The idea being like this, right? Now we get additional forcing moves. But I think in this case, white's so strong that he could do this. So that's not good, right? So that's one thing. So the question is, why not do this? And I'm not exactly sure, but here, let's see. Maybe there's another choice that black can play. I don't think this actually works though, does it? Maybe like this. Not sure. That was definitely one of my questions as well. Maybe for cold threats. I'm really not sure. Maybe just didn't want to give him the Panuki outright. In any case, white plays here, which is an overplay. Um, the pro thought that maybe he's just trying to find a place to resign. So black answers. White tries to come through. Black plays a clamp. There's a lot of stuff happening. R10. You don't want to take a liberty from the invading stone. You want to play here. Yeah, I don't think you want to leave the extra. Okay, that's fine. So he clamps, and now white tries this. This is pretty complicated, right? There's like cut, cut. There's like all these Aji stones in here. So let's see how Shusaku handles this. Well, it's pretty complicated. Let me see. Are you saying like if he just connects at A? I think it's because there's a bunch of forcing moves. So he actually plays here first, which is interesting, right? And white plays here, which actually gives black a chance to connect. And the diagram that Pro showed, he said, if white cuts here, black will just cut here, and he's happy enough. He actually said black gains on this exchange. I don't question his counting. I didn't count it myself, but that surprised me a little bit. He said that black could even gain like that. So white's got to go for more. And it turns out like this. So now white's getting more liberties, right? It's starting to get maybe a little dicey. White pushes in here because that's where all the weaknesses are. Black tries to fix this one up in Sente because we still have this group, right? That has to connect. And white's going to connect that, but he gets a free forcing move in quickly. Then he connects. That gives black a chance to connect. And yeah, white is actually able to get out. He's able to save all these, right? But black is able to connect as well. So he wasn't able to cut black off, but he was able to save his stones. And he does have Sente, so Not too bad. So now we can kind of see some of the D10 Aji. To actually see how white uses this is kind of interesting. He throws in, and then he plays here, threatening to play A. And then he goes and does something else. So you might be wondering, well, what was that, right? The reason he does that is he's worried that if black just plays here on his own, now A, B, me, I, right? Black, like if we fix this, now we're going to die like this. So that's not so good. So what he's doing, he's actually sacrificing a stone to where now there's no way black can come through here, right? Because we protected ahead of time. It's kind of interesting. Then he does this, gets some forcing moves, and comes in on the bottom. Black tries to save as much of that as he can. Hane's no peep. Like here. So why doesn't he peep? It's a good question. Bad peep white needs to fix. And in Gote. Like, assuming we play the same spot, though, it seems better than the game. Black can separate with F2, then H2. Yeah, I was trying to look at something like that. But the problem is we can't actually get a stone in here. Typically that, just for reference, Soggle, typically that A-B combination depends on there being a stone solid at the triangle area, right? Because now you can actually stick the stone in, whereas if you don't have that, it's normally you can't. Yeah, I'm not completely sure. Anyone else figure it out yet? How do we answer the peep? Maybe he would just push and peep and connect. But I don't know. That seems better for white too. I'm going to continue. Maybe someone else will continue looking at that and figure it out. Yeah, this looks like it was easier for black to close up shop there. Oh, by the way, we're on figure 3 now, and it's titled A Bad Day for Sentoku. Poor guy. So it went from the losing move to bad to worse to a bad day for Sentoku. All right, so yeah, the game is wrapping up here. First, black pushes here. And how does white have to answer this? Right, we have to capture. Because if we block Atari Ascente, and then we will just get captured. Can we do this one? Maybe we can, and now I'm wondering why this isn't better. I guess because now we have this stuff, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Black can come in from this side, so he would rather capture to keep this closed. Not really. Harder now, right? But the thing is, now we get this. So it's kind of give and take, right? Question mark. Beacon still J15. J15. Well, you can put a stone there. Oh, because are you saying you can... wait. You can play here, right? Yeah, it should be okay for white. Yeah, you probably looked at this on the first try, right? Okay, so white answers here. And now black could just Hane at A, that works. But he just descends here, and white resigns. So the commentary says, Sentoku finally resigned after black 131. All in all, this was a game which he probably wanted to forget as quickly as possible. Oh, that was a pretty fun game. It's not as if the game was particularly close or anything, but still interesting and kind of funny just to see the comments. Now the next game is going to be castle game number 3, and it's against the same guy. And the little blurb before the game is really funny also. I should probably save it for next time though, rather than steal its thunder now. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Actually, this next game actually fits on only 2 pages. There's very, very little commentary. So let's go ahead and do it on Tuesday. And then on next Saturday, we'll do castle game number 4. So we'll have 2 next week. All right, so see you next week. Then can you read the quote? Yeah, I'll read it on Tuesday. It's pretty cute. All right. Oops.